Story 1: The benefits of working out. My father started regularly working out in his 40s. Nothing extreme, just consistent. He is now 87 and is still in great health. All of his doctors have credited the fact that he started regularly taking care of himself as the reason why he is doing so well. Now, the flip side of that is he has had to deal with a lot of loss, including my mother. Story 2: Lack of physical activity is a huge issue. Just because you are not overweight does not mean you do not need regular exercise. The benefits go far beyond weight loss. Exercise maintains the health of your bones and joints. It also maintains many of your internal organ systems, and currently, we are learning that it even helps to maintain the telomeres on your chromosomes, effectively slowing down the aging process itself. Story 3: Neglecting your dental health. Deciding to stop going to the dentist because you are no longer forced to buy your family will not end well, trust me. That was not a smart choice I made way back when, and it affected me for years after. Honestly, it could have been much worse for me. Story 4: Some people are made of titanium. Some people are not. There is no way to know which is which. My friend's dad was a cocaine addict and is very healthy at 74. I had a healthy runner friend who had a heart attack at 35. Just because one person can binge drink and be healthy at 80 does not mean that you can. You will not know until it is too late. Story 5: Bad habits become harder to recover from and can lead to health problems for the rest of your life. Not just in catastrophic ways, but in little ways like bad joints or aches and pains. Stay mobile, stay healthy. Story 6: 1. Starting to live healthily in your 20s will make a huge difference in your 40s. Start using sun protection in your 20s or your skin may noticeably be affected in your 40s. Try to better yourself every day in your 20s to be proud of what you have become in your 40s. Story 7: Genetics and health. My cholesterol skyrocketed once I hit 40. My diet didn't change. It was like a light switch. Some freakish mutant eyebrow hairs also decided to go big or go home. Story 8: I don't know how much this applies, but there comes a point in life, for many it's in their 40s, where you realize that things like being famous, building a legacy, and being highly respected in your career do not matter at all. And when you get there, life becomes wonderful. You quit worrying about where you're going and start to enjoy what you have. It's hard to get there early, but at the least you can look forward to it. Story 9: If you are a woman, probably perimenopause. We collectively think of menopause as being the big deal, not realizing it is a process and not realizing it is an issue that often starts in our 40s. Story 10: The health, wealth, and mental stability of your parents and grandparents. Your 20s are generally that sweet spot where the people you love aren't dropping dead, going crazy, or going broke. By the time you reach 40, the people you have always relied on may start relying on you instead. If you're lucky, you'll still have two parents in good health who can take care of themselves. But you may also find yourself spending your 30s and beyond taking care of sick, dying, or destitute family members. Also, wear sunscreen and be kind to your knees and your back. Baz Luhrmann wasn't just playing. Story 11: Decent shoes with proper support. Nowadays, most workplaces have concrete floors with nothing to cushion your feet besides what you wear. Excessively wearing poor footwear can cause joint issues in your feet, knees, hips, and back. Story 12: All those old injuries you had in your life, like twisted knees, sprained or broken ankles, and surgeries, you're probably going to feel those again at some point in your life. Oh, and the fun part is when you hurt yourself, it takes longer to recover. My knees are worn out from so many injuries when I played sports, and the multiple back injuries I've had keep getting worse and worse. Last year, I sneezed, threw out my back, and was laid up for 3 days. There is a way to counter this. If you work out, keep doing it. I stopped doing any real workouts when I was in my late 20s. I'm sure if I had continued, this might not be an issue anymore. Story 13: Stress, especially when you get to the age that you start to realize most of the things you've worried about in life weren't even worth worrying over. If it's causing you stress and you don't need it, walk away. What's meant to be in our lives will be one way or another. Story 14: Who you have children with. Buying a house? You can eventually get out of it. Marriage? You can get a divorce. Moving in together? You can always move back home. Financial crisis? You can budget or work on it. But kids, you are tied to the person you parent with forever. It truly is the most for better or worse situation, and people just rush into it without thinking. To be young and full of hormones again. Story 15. The families of their significant other. Even if your significant other is amazing, if their family culture is toxic, it is going to have a massive negative effect on your life. I know it sounds harsh and sad, but it should be a big portion of the decision to commit to someone. Story 16. Your ability to heal is greatly reduced. What was a simple cut or scrape in your 20s now takes weeks to heal, maybe longer. I used to think I had supernatural healing abilities in my youth. Turns out that is just what young bodies are capable of. Story 17. Some of you will find out some things about your parents, what they did and what they didn't do when they should have. You will realize that some of the things you thought were completely normal are actually quite toxic. You may even discover your own abuse. If I were to ask my 25-year-old self about how unpleasant my family is, I would argue that unpleasant is too harsh a word. But now, unpleasant is the least of it. I would start with that word and then elaborate. Story 18. Do not get deployed on your second combat tour. Having no legs in your 40s really hampers your day-to-day. The traumatic brain injuries, post-traumatic stress disorder, concussions, spinal arthritis, and various other issues do not help either. I joined before September 11th, thinking I would just serve a few years and get a civil service job. Whoops. Story 19. Meaningful friendships become more selective, scarce, and precious. You need to actively maintain them. If you are fortunate enough to live into your 40s and beyond, you will age. Everyone does. It will not magically pass you by or your partner for that matter. Choose a partner whose company you will enjoy as you go through the second half of life together, despite the way both of your looks are changing. Story 20. Drinking. Even drinking moderately, 7 to 14 drinks per week or 1 to 2 per night, literally degenerates your brain and thins your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for decision-making, communicating, regulating emotion, and other executive functions. Edit. To everyone telling me 7 to 14 drinks a week could not possibly be moderate. It is the medical standard in the United States. My entire point was that even drinking amounts deemed moderate by medical professionals can still seriously damage your brain and body. Moderate doesn't mean a little, it means moderate. Story 21. Eating fast food at 2 a.m. when you're drunk is great in your 20s. In your 40s, you feel like you're having a heart attack the next day and you're dealing with acid reflux for the next 3 days. Story 22. Quit drinking. The sooner you do it, the happier you will be and the better your life will be. Use sunscreen. I have blonde hair and blue eyes, and I've been using it religiously and look younger than my peers by 10 to 15 years. Prioritize sleep. It is the best mental health supporter you can have. Your parents are not going to be here forever, so the little things that get under your skin need to be brushed off. When they pass, you will remember those moments when you lost patience and regret it horribly. Story 23. Let me tell you about second puberty. Think you got all the hair you're going to? Think again and look at your back, ears, and eyebrows. Thought you were done with growth spurts? Well, you're going to grow again, just out instead of up. And things are just going to start hurting for no reason. You'll go to a doctor and say, "My knee hurts." And they'll say, "Yeah, that'll happen at your age. Try these physical therapy exercises 3 times a day, and maybe it'll stop." The biggest thing, though, is time. You just never have enough of it. Like, do I even have any hobbies anymore? When was the last time I exercised? What did I do with all my time? Being an adult takes a lot of my time and most of my energy. Story 24. Doing things in your younger years has a big effect when you get older. What I mean by this is that doing reckless stuff like throwing yourself off the top of a house to look cool and hurting yourself badly has a big effect on you as you age. Spraining an ankle happens, but breaking your ankle because you saw something done by a professional and then thinking it's not going to affect you down the line is foolish. I hurt when the weather changes. My ankles are so weak that I have to wear supportive boots to help me. My collarbone aches when I sleep wrong, yet I still have to go to work when my joints ache badly and do a 12-hour shift. No pain, no gain? I'd rather feel good than miserable and in pain. Why did I do backyard wrestling when I was young and dumb? If I could time travel, I would call my younger self a fool. I should have listened to my father when I was young. He was a pool of wisdom. Story 25. My 46-year-old feet have insanely high arches. One day, out of nowhere, the ball of my foot started hurting really badly. I figured it was a bruise, but it didn't go away, so after a few months, I went to a podiatrist. He told me the pain is because my arches put extra stress on the balls of my feet. But doctor, I tell him, my feet have always been this way. He looks at me and says, you haven't always been 46. Story 26. Take your mental health seriously. Guys, let your significant other feel their feelings. Do not try to problem solve for them. To quote my therapist, be a lighthouse. Give a light, but let the storm run its course. Also, learn to recognize your feelings. Be open about them. You will be amazed at how much smoother your relationships will be. Story 27. Not necessarily tied to the 40s, but generally happens around that time in life, the gradual deterioration and eventual loss of your parents, and you becoming the matriarch or patriarch of your family. For some, the responsibility and grief are unbearable once this becomes reality. No one sort of above you remaining on the family tree. Story 28. Not starting saving in your 20s. Seriously, put away as much of your paycheck as you can as early as you can, and you'll have a nice cushion in your 40s. Story 29. That you're on your own. One day you wake up and you're 40, and absolutely nobody cares about you. The earlier you can handle real life, the better. The earlier you can make hard decisions without checking with someone, the better. Everyone who says it goes by quickly is not lying. One day you're the old guy in the room, and you need to be secure with being the leader because young people will look to you for answers and you need to have them. The earlier you can be comfortable having dependence in your life, the better. It's so seductive to think that your mentor, boss, or favorite politician is going to figure out all of your problems for you and is looking out for your best interests. As you age, the clock ticks and you're like, Jesus, I really need to make something happen here. Whether it is starting your family, committing to a skilled trade or job, committing to a house or anything like that, the earlier you can make those commitments and feel comfortable with them, the better. Story 30. I'll only speak for myself, since I am in my 40s. That fast food meal you get once in a while. Smoking or vaping. That day of intense exercise you decided to do on a whim. That night of drinking and dancing. Drinking alcohol, period. Even just a couple of beers. Not wearing supportive shoes. All-nighters, whether it's school or work or play. Neglecting your feelings. Pushing it all down for the sake of getting through the day, week, or maintaining a relationship. Being in the habit of spending instead of saving. Story 31. Teeth. Take care of your mouth, please. I'm 42 and about to get dentures due to childhood neglect, malnutrition, improper hygiene, and rampant drug use. Your teeth are probably one of the most important things you have, and it's the worst when they start to decay or fall out. Story 32. Ageism. Enjoy your youth because when you get older, companies will not hire you anymore. They can get someone younger and more desperate to do your job for half as much. Story 33. You are not Hercules or the world's strongest man. Do not lift heavy things to show off or because you think it's easier or quicker than getting help or the right equipment. Back problems will show up, and they can never fix them to be like you were before. This especially applies at work. No amount of money or job is worth being an invalid the rest of your life. Story 34. You are going to start waking up earlier and earlier in the morning, even if you do not want to. Even if you went to bed late last night. Even if you were trying to catch up on sleep. There is not much you can do about this. So learn to embrace it and become productive in the morning. I used to hate waking up in the mornings, and now I have grown to enjoy it. Story 35. The cumulative stress from working a toxic job will wreck your body, ruin some of your relationships, and make you regret the lost time for something that you shouldn't invest time in. Story 36. The slow drip of alcoholism. You might not be a binge drinker in your 20s, which, while good, doesn't mean you are in the clear. I was a binge drinker and kicked the habit in my early 30s and have been sober for over 6 years. Now, we are all pushing 40, And the people I once drank with, who didn't really seem to have a problem because they didn't get super wasted, are now asking me for advice on how to quit. 2 glasses of wine a night out of your 20s and into your 30s doesn't seem like a big deal, but what I'm seeing is that it's turning into 3, then a bottle, and a couple of mixed drinks, then 2 bottles, and on and on. By the time they realize it's an issue, they are dependent, and the habit is so well established they don't know how to get rid of it. Think about it. Every night after work, you get home, have a drink, then another, then do that for 15 years, and all of a sudden, this slow drip has turned into a waterfall. Story 37. Neglecting your health. You should be doing constant maintenance on your body. If you do not take care of your vehicle, what happens? It breaks down. So will you if you do not take care of yourself? Start young and develop a consistent routine. I am 50 now, and being in good shape has saved my life multiple times. I have had many surgeries between 21 and 49, including 6 brain surgeries, disc replacements, and cancer. You would never know it if you met me. I still work out every day, at least I try to.